Welcome to a video where I poorly explain why Destiny 2 is still an amazing game that deserves your time and money, even though the discussion forums will consistently complain about hackers, overpowered weapons and the lack of good content to play through. I think it's fair to say that my channel is still fresh out of the oven and has no means of getting sponsors or paid adverts, so everything I say comes from my personal opinion and the disturbingly high playtime I have in this game out of all the others in my Steam library. All opinions expressed in this video are entirely my own. Heck, you might even watch someone else post a video that pretty much burns down the whole game, but that is always up for discussion. The best thing about being a mature, intelligent human being is that we can talk things over without everything devolving into some tribal confrontation over identity and loyalty, something which I feel the modern world needs more of. Anyway, let's talk about Destiny 2, the game that if you love, you will complain about 24/7 to anyone who gives you any sort of attention for more than 5 minutes. Where do I even start with this game? Let's get to the good parts first. Number 1, the story. While the game did get a lot of warranted criticism in its first year for the shallow story, Bungie has really upped their game and the lore is something incredibly rewarding to get into now. There are so many different factions, characters, and side stories that build up on the world and lore that, if you are the kind of player that likes to chase after the story and lore element of any game, you will get a metric ton of reading material in the form of lore in exotic weapons, achievements, and exploration. Not to mention the story missions are fairly decent and Bungie did not skimp on any of the cinematic scenes either. The story really picks up after the Forsaken DLC, and Bungie has made every effort to point out in every vidoc that the lore and narrative are something that they are paying more and more attention to. I would like to go further, but this stuff is something to experience for yourself, and I don't really like doing spoilers for good content. Number 2, the sound and gameplay in this game is phenomenal, and of the kind of level that should be expected from the developer that made the Halo series and put the Xbox on the map of all gamers for future generations. The sound and music are a real treat, especially for those with amazing sound systems and headphones. Each weapon has a very unique sound to it, and trust me when I say that when you play the game long enough you can identify each weapon by the unique sound it makes, and the sound of footsteps can be as important as in a game like Rainbow Six Siege. The music is similar to what you can find in any of the Halo games, and if I'm not mistaken was made under the guidance of Michael Salvatore, the guy behind the music in Halo. Each score is a tribute to their roots in the Halo franchise, and the music has never gotten to the point where I needed to mute it. It just makes everything more cinematic and epic, especially in top tier PvP matches. Now, on to gameplay. Bungie has always known how to make a gameplay loop that is fun, responsive, addictive yet tactical at the same time. Every single weapon, even the ones that are fairly crap, are a joy to use and shoot. The weapons feel incredibly well thought out, and the snipers and hand cannons have a particular punch to them that cannot be felt in any other game. If anything, it's the gunplay that keeps bringing me back to this game more than anything else. Now, that's not to say this game can hold a candle to the Titanfall series, but it comes pretty damn close. Smooth gameplay with excellent gunplay mechanics will keep you playing this game and queuing up for more and more PvP matches each time you get a new or better weapon. This game has hundreds of unique weapons with different archetypes, so every match is a mixing and matching of different weapons and strategies. It will keep you hooked. Number 3, the player classes and races. Much like other RPGs out there, each player can choose a race and gender for their character. Up to this point, however, none of those choices have impacted the story in any way. You can do some basic character customization, but that's about it. Nothing to write home about. The player subclasses, however, are something else. Each player can choose to be either a Titan, Warlock, or Hunter, and each class has 3 types of supers relating to the element: Solar, Void and Arc. Each elemental class has 3 other subclasses that can dramatically change the way you play and use each of their super or ultimate abilities. I could go on in detail about this, but to keep it simple, let me just say that there is no shortage of build diversity in this game. Depending on what mods, exotic weapons and armor pieces you use for a build, there can be so many ways you can experiment with your characters and gameplay. That isn't to say all builds are good, some just stand out more than others, but if you want to play well with any class, you will need to follow a good build guide. Titans are walking muscular walls that can make more walls and have a role similar to traditional tanking roles. Hunters are agile players and can jump, slide and dodge shots better than any other character. Warlocks are really versatile and can have really destructive or team play based supers. As a Titan main, I vouch for the Titans being the easiest to learn the game, with a good balance of versatility and viability for endgame content. Now that I've covered the good stuff, let me move on to the more controversial parts of the game, the first being weapon sunsetting. To put it simply, all your gear in the game has a specific light level which will now have a maximum light level over which it cannot go higher, no matter how much you use it. Some gear will now last several seasons longer than others, in what I now understand to be an attempt to change up the weapons meta, at the same time making a large chunk of what you have totally useless for future high level content, and Bungie have decided to put away or vault a good chunk of the game's content into what they call a content vault. While this issue can be divisive, I believe that with the right changes and additions put into the game, this could turn out for the better. Even though I was initially put off by the sheer amount of my old gear going obsolete after hours of grinding for them, I'm looking at you 21% Delirium and Luna's Howl. Not only will this vaulting affect gear, but a number of planets and activities will now be gone, so say goodbye to anything you might have wanted from those parts of the game. There is the problem of additional content that needs to be purchased in order to get the full experience. Destiny 2 has had a few major expansions in the forms of Curse of Osiris, Warmind, Forsaken, Shadowkeep and the upcoming Beyond Light expansions. Each of these brings with it a plethora of content and loot, so it might be enough to put off some gamers who hate the concept of having to pay for more content. However, the free-to-play New Light model is made in such a way that you can experience most of the content in the game without having to fork over any cash, and if you like the game, you can then decide to get all the other DLCs. I feel like this is a great way to get people to try out the game, and it was how I started playing to begin with. Steam sales are a thing, and it can get to the point where you can get all the DLCs at a really reduced price if you are patient enough. I don't know if console players can get sales to the same level we do on Steam though. The single biggest issue in my view is the amount of hackers/cheaters you will meet in top tier PvP activities. Now this isn't as bad as it used to be, since Bungie put out a cease and desist order against Perfect Aim, the people who made the cheats, but it is something you will need to consider if you are planning to go hard into the PvP side of things. Anyone playing in the Southeast Asia region can attest to meeting a good number of players with suspiciously godlike aim. PvP is fun, but it's best not to take it too seriously. The latest expansion, Beyond Light, is fit to bring so many changes into the game, ranging from an overhauled new player experience, new physics-based hosting, whatever the hell that is, and a rebalancing of mods for armor pieces and weapons. There is so much more to look over, but YouTubers like Aztecris have done a way better job of that than me. He makes amazing videos about PvP based content and weapon reviews that are invaluable to the community. Honestly, I could go on and on and on about this game, while also nitpicking everything I hate about it, but that only happens if you love a game so much that you want it to be the best it can be. Out of all my games, Destiny is the only one I've put more than 900 hours into, which is embarrassingly low compared to some more hardcore players out there. It has so much to offer after years of growing and developing thanks to community feedback and developer innovations. Even more so, Bungie have shown that they are fully committed to the franchise and that they are doing all they can to keep building on a game and community that they care about. In saying all this, I haven't even talked about Strikes, Nightfalls, Gambit, Gambit Prime, Reckoning, Ranked PvP, Trials of Osiris, Raids, Dungeons and Exotic Quests. This game has something for everyone, and I strongly believe that if you haven't given this game a chance, you could be missing out on an incredibly worthwhile game. So please give this game a try. It's free after all. Thank you so much for staying through this whole fanboy rant. I hope that you found it interesting, and like I've said before, I'm still working towards making better and better content. Smack that like button if you liked the video and please live for what gives you purpose.